What Donald Trump just posted will disturb you, and it is the reason that you should never take a single conservative seriously. These people are not good faith actors. They do not believe what they say, and everything that comes out of the mouth of a Republican is politically motivated. And that is what we saw from Donald Trump. One of the more disgusting posts he has ever made after a Democrat had their life taken from them. We are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work to call out the blatant lies that we see from Republicans every day, and specifically on this idea that somehow it is Democrats who are creating a culture in which political violence is accepted, is provoked by the left in our rhetoric. It is what Donald Trump just made patently false tonight with the post that he made. But it's a lie that J.D. Vance has really been pushing. It's important context for what Trump just put on Truth Social. We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country. And we got to do it. I have said this too many times at this point. I'm just repeating myself, but I have to. J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was the one who said that Donald Trump would be America's Hitler. And he was right about that one thing. You were bang on, J.D. But this idea that Democrats pointing out what Republicans want to do, pointing out the ways in which it will hurt people, diagnosing the problems that they're causing, is some inflammatory rhetoric rather than a real reading of the situation that we are in, this political moment in which Republicans do want to hurt people, do want to cast out anyone who looks different from them from society. That is pure and blatant insanity. That is what it is from Republicans. This idea that they can hide behind a fear of the rhetoric of the left. When we say Donald Trump wants to do the things that Donald Trump wants to do, the man said he wanted to be a dictator. We repeated that. J.D. Vance said he'd be America's Hitler. We repeated that. I think we were right about both things. The only person who has ever directed real political violence, who has encouraged it, is Donald Trump. This was just a month and a half ago when Democrats like Jason Crow were getting these messages. Congressman Jason Crow wrote after he spoke out against Donald Trump and called for service members to disobey illegal orders. Trump called for my arrest, prosecution, and execution. Almost immediately, the threats exploded against me and my office. All Americans must condemn this political violence. Listen to some of the actual threats we've received. Now, I'm not going to play that video because it is disturbing, and I think you understand the point without me having to make it. With this gross collection of people who feel empowered by the most powerful person on the planet, telling them to go after his political enemies. Donald Trump, it's very important to remember what the beginning of this term was, because it's really colored everything that's happened since and shows why Donald Trump's administration is falling apart right now. And that is because Donald Trump wrote a blank check to MAGA. He said, if you commit political violence on my behalf, if you attack anyone who opposes me like those rears did on January 6th, I'll sign off. I'll say, go for it. I will keep you protected. If you are in the Epstein files and you'll hush-hush on my behalf, I won't release them. Remember, Donald Trump isn't just protecting himself. He's protecting everyone else. But what does this have to do with political violence? Political violence that Donald Trump encourages, political violence that J.D. Vance, Carolyn Levitt, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel say is coming from the left. Well, Donald Trump had the opportunity on the day that Charlie Kirk was killed. Someone who, by the way, encouraged political violence against people of color to broadly condemn it all. Something that is plaguing our country. He did not. What Donald Trump wanted to focus on was his own political gain. And it ran in stark contrast to when a Democratic lawmaker had their life taken. Melissa Hortman. Donald Trump had this to say about her. And it's been a while since he's addressed it. But Donald Trump is now posting about Melissa Hortman again. And it's disturbing. But listen to what he had to say. I'm not familiar. The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat who was assassinated this summer, well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that, but the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I wouldn't have thought of that. But I would have, if somebody had asked me, people make requests for the lowering of flag. And oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly. Now, for God knows why, Midas Touch is reporting that Donald Trump is now reposting videos on Truth Social, suggesting that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had Melissa Hortman assassinated. This is objectively evil, and calling it out should be not political. Objectively evil doesn't even begin to cover it. This woman had her life stolen from her, and Donald Trump didn't say a word. All he said was, I don't really know who that is. I don't really know what you're talking about. Can we just move on? Can I exploit the death of Charlie Kirk? And it's funny, in fact, on that day, and I got a lot from a lot of people, and there's a lot I want to talk about, so do stick around. But I got from a lot of people when I said, I don't think anyone should be killed in public. Unlike Charlie Kirk, who did say that he believed in public executions, but Charlie Kirk is a bad guy, and I don't feel bad, right? I don't feel anything about Charlie Kirk. And I also said his wife, terrible person who married a bigot who, directed as much hate and vile bile at trans people, women of color, all people of color in this country. And a lot of people said, Jack, she's a widow. She's grieving. Don't say anything about the W. Come on. I think I don't want to because there's a lot we need to talk about. I don't need to spend too much time patting myself on the back about my Erica Kirk diagnosis, but always right, even if I'm not right now. I was certainly right then. These people are not good faith actors. They are not real, right? They are so removed from the real world. That was kind of the accusation that MAGA used to always levy against us, right? That they'd say the left is detached from reality. All of these people are in their ivory towers. And they kind of allude to Hollywood a lot, right? These Hollywood elites or these liberal elites or these coastal elites as if we existed in different worlds and we couldn't see what it was like in regular, small town America. The real America, if you ever say anything bad about the real America, I don't know why I'm a wrestler now, but I'll just do. If you ever say anything bad about the real America, you're not a patriot. And it was well, I don't know. Donald Trump posts videos of him literally dropping on Harry Sison in New York City, and he's allowed to do that. Our beautiful cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Donald Trump calls them holes, calls him trash, but real America. And they told us that we were detached, that we didn't understand it. Eric Kirk parading around and shooting sparklers out of her ass to speak indelicately, which seems like she's pretty detached from reality, right? But do you know who isn't doing that? The family of Melissa Hortman, who are grieving still because the president of the United States continues to, use her tragic death, having her life stolen from her to try to bring the base back together. Donald Trump is sitting in the White House right now talking to God knows who. It could be Stephen Miller. It could be Susie Wilds. It's a Saturday. So Pete Hegseth is pissed, drunk, and passed out. And he's going, quite frankly, they keep talking about these pedophiles that I love to hang out with. And we love those guys, and I liked it too. And so how do we get them off my back? Attack a dead woman. Sounds great. She was killed. Don't care. Don't care. They're awful people. I've done a lot of voices in this video who should not be taken seriously. Do not allow the silliness that has come from my rage towards these awful individuals to cloud the point that I'm trying to make, which is you should never take them seriously ever when they ask you to feel bad. When they ask you to believe them, we always talk about how, you don't want to sink to their level, right? You don't want to sink. And I think that's a thing. Of course, the Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. You don't want to sink to their level. You don't want to get in the muck with them. But the muck that I've realized, do you know what the muck is? The muck is the lies, right? Getting in the muck with Republicans, getting in the muck with MAGA isn't mocking Charlie Kirk or Erica Kirk or pointing out that it's a farce. This whole, oh, Charlie, oh no. They were taking photos in the tent, in which he was killed, and selling merch there. Doesn't seem very mournful. So getting in the muck with them isn't stooping to a level. To me, the muck is believing, right? It's, we need bipartisanship. We need to work together. We need to reach across the aisle, these people. No, I don't get it. I don't get this. Need bipartisanship for bipartisanship's sake. The people who are not representing us in Washington or in the political system across the country, I don't give a if they have beers together. Okay? Let's make that very clear, right? Like when I wrap this up and I edit a video and upload it, I don't think you're like, you know what I really hope Jack does? I hope he goes and has a beer with Candace Owens. I hope they're buddies. People who I am fundamentally at odds with and my morals are in complete contrast with, I don't want to be buddies because we like work in the same industry. There's no networking events. There are, and they're attended by people who aren't in this because they care. I know I've kind of gone off the deep end here, but this post was disgusting. And so this idea that we are going to operate in this kind of phony politics with Republicans, I've had it. I'm so fed up because this is who they are. They consistently show it to us. So do not believe anything else. Do not believe you can work with these people. Do not believe they take you seriously. Do not believe they care about you. Do not believe they're honest. And do not believe anything that the people who believe them say. The Democrats in the Senate who said, you know, I think that we're going to get a vote on the Obamacare subsidies. I think it's going to happen. Anything, Chuck? No. They're blinded. So many people, so many of our elected leaders, by their desire to just buddy up with people who do not view you and I as real people, just pawns in their game. That's how they view us. That's how Donald Trump views Melissa Hortman. That is how Republicans do. And those are not people that you can take seriously. And we shouldn't, and I'm not going to. That was a bit of a rant. We did a lot of voices. I had a lot of thoughts and feelings. We're back in the studio. I haven't slept for many days. I talked about it in another video. I was down. I always say down. No matter where I go in the world, I'm always down. I could be in the North Pole and I was like, I went down to the pole and quote, which I guess technically I don't know. Doesn't matter. But I was up in New York for Zamani's inauguration. I just want to stay a little bit longer, see some friends. No one conservative, mind you. Friends who believe in human dignity, because those are the only friends that we should keep. But I have not slept in days. But we're back. We're better than ever. We're going to keep on calling out this was a bit of a longy. So if you stuck around to the end, I really do appreciate it, especially through all the madness. I really appreciate you supporting this channel. And if you want to continue to support it, as always, you can hit that subscribe button